What's up everybody, I'm Matt.
And I'm Beth.
And today we're going to be reviewing the interior in the 2022 GMC Hummer EV Edition 1, which is the fully loaded truck version of the Hummer EV. If you're curious, they are doing an SUV version as well in 2023, but for now it's just the truck. And this one, by the way, costs $110,000. And yeah, it's cool in a lot of ways, but it's also maybe not as luxurious as you might be expecting for 110.
Yeah, but let me tell you, it is a monster. If you love huge cars, this is it for you. I think that this is insane, but it is really cool.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, it's wider than a Silverado by like 5 inches. It's enormous, and everyone on the road looks at you, and it makes a statement everywhere it goes, for sure. And definitely check out the driving review for all the details on, you know, what this is like to drive and all that. But as far as this interior here, you know, there's a lot of focus on technology here and on kind of some Jeep vibe kind of stuff with these removable roof panels and stuff, which we'll get into in a minute. And this one also is pretty interesting with, you know, the white neoprene like almost material you have here for, you know, much of the interior. But you do also have a little bit of leather and stuff. It kind of is the same as like a Jeep, where, you know, a Jeep Wrangler isn't the most luxurious thing you can get for $65,000 either. But, you know, it's all about the off-road vibe and having it be durable and rugged and tough. And so it's more so that than, you know, anything luxurious. But first thing, sitting down in these seats, you have these seats, which are pretty similar to what you're going to get in any kind of other 1500 series truck. So, you know, if you're familiar with like a GMC Sierra, you know, these seats should be pretty similar. I do like how you have this Hummer logo here, which is hard plastic. That is one thing I have to say, though, too, about, like, you know, not only on the seats here, but any of the metal looking material you see in here, most of that is plastic. And that is a disappointment at this price point as well. And I'm, again, not going to get into this too much because, again, people buy these for the insanity, not for, you know, it being a rolling palace. But, you know, just all the stuff that looks like it could be metal is actually plastic. And it just gives you a cheaper feeling in here than you might be expecting. And so one of those spots is here on the seat where that looks like it'd be a nice chunk of metal. It's actually plastic. But you know, I think they're cool looking seats and they're pretty comfortable as well.
And you're not actually hitting that plastic too, by the way. It doesn't, like, for me, I don't hit it at all, so I'm not touching it. So I don't think it would be anything that would really bother you in any way. And also on the passenger side, you have all of the same power controls as the driver, and you also have that nice lumbar support in every way. So that's really nice.
And the seats also are heated and cooled here. And moving on to the steering wheel here, you have, you know, a pretty typical GM steering wheel. It does have the Hummer logo here at the bottom and across the airbag cover, but the same kind of GM plastic buttons here on the front of it. And you also do have this cool regen paddle. It's kind of odd you only have it on one side, but it basically is just going to do regenerative braking, but it gives you like max regen. So the second you pull that, it's like it immediately puts as much regen as possible on. It's an interesting offering, but just kind of an odd thing at the same time. But I love having the Super Cruise you know, indicator here on the wheel, and I talk more about Super Cruise in my driving review. But a nice steering wheel that's also heated as well. The gauges here in the Hummer EV are a 12.3 inch screen and are really cool. So you'll see on all the screens the background is the surface of the moon, and so it has this very cool topography to the you know, background here, and it's a really cool touch. I also like that it's a black background. It's not trying to be super bright or anything, and just the whole lunar theme of this edition 1 in particular is really cool. And I mean, the gauges are nice and clear. You know, one on the right here for the power, on the left side it shows you your battery. Unfortunately though, it's a very vague battery gauge. It's just this giant bar, and it tells you how many miles of range you have, but there isn't anything that actually shows you the percentage of battery you have left. It's nowhere to be found in any of the menus or any of the sub menus, and that's one little thing that irks me a little bit. I like knowing exactly how much battery I have left. This just gives you a rough estimate there, you know, with those bars, and that's it. And so that's the only shortcoming here with the gauges. Otherwise, it's the usual kind of GM customization with the trip computers and stuff like that on the right hand side. On the left, you can show, you know, like the angle of the truck and the G-forces and a few of those off-road touches there, which is cool that you have all of that. And it'll also walk you through the crab walk thing and how to do all that stuff in the gauge cluster as well, which is cool. But coming over to the center of the dashboard here, you have a massive 13.4 inch touchscreen display here, and the graphics are really cool on it. So all the animations you see for the drive mode changes and stuff like that are done by Epic Games, that does the Fortnite stuff and everything. So it's very cool with with the way they have that kind of played up a little bit more. Otherwise, though, this is basically the same bones as what you're going to be getting with any other GM infotainment system here in these 2022s and forward, with this brand new screen where you have this row of icons on the left, which are always going to be there, and those are kind of like your shortcuts to jump around to CarPlay or, you know, your home menu or whatever else you want to do. And it also does have quick access to the cameras, which this vehicle has a ton of. There's cameras underneath the thing, there's cameras in the front and the back, looking over the bed, on the sides. I mean, everything you can possibly imagine, the bird's eye cameras, all that kind of stuff it has, of course, to help you with the off-roading.
And this is one car that I'm not super particular in all of those icons being driver-centric, because this is such a huge car. If it were in the middle or farther on the passenger side, I feel like it might not be the best idea because it's such a reach for the driver. But I would like to see something on the passenger side that might be easier to get to those shortcuts.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a bit of a reach, and like you said, I mean, it's part of that is the fact that it's a truck. A lot of the trucks that we're in, you know, they're massive. There's a huge gap between, you know, me and you, so it's like trying to, you know, reach anything is going to be tough on any of these screens, you know. But it would be nice to see like a centrally located volume knob like that we've seen in some other vehicles recently. You know, it does have wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto, so great. It's great that it has that. It always connected very quickly in my week here with the Hummer. Also, it's all integrated in with Google, so everything in here, you sign into your Google account, it'll have all your favorites, Google Maps and all that kind of stuff is actually the navigation. This doesn't have any kind of built-in nav. It uses Google Maps, and so that's notable as well, but that makes it very easy to use and navigate to stuff just by searching it very easily, just the same way you would on your phone. So it's very well done with this Android-based system that they're using now at GM. But one other little thing to mention is you'll see this row of controls here, and you would think that that's a touchscreen. And me and her both, when we first hopped in this, went to go, you know, push on that, and that isn't actually a touchscreen for that part. That is based on these toggles here, and it's just animated. The mechanics around that are a little iffy. So for example, to put on your cooled seat, you have to first hit the seat button and then go over to this other toggle and then hit the cooled seat. And so, you know, they're like working with a limited amount of icons there, so that, you know, it kind of has to change and shift around. So it just means that there's like 2 separate button taps in order to turn on a cooled seat or, you know, heated seat, which is something you only need 1 tap to do typically in any other vehicle. So, you know, very minor nitpicking stuff, but just little things that we noticed here living with the vehicle for a week. And there's another little row of toggles right underneath that. But overall, it's really nice and simple and straightforward without being cluttered, while still having, you know, everything you need within easy reach. I do like you have some physical control, so it's not all 100% screen based. Moving on to other stuff here though, other cool little touches technology wise, you do have a camera rear view mirror, which is great here. Obviously with a truck, it's very easy to see out of the back, and that rear window does roll down as well. But nice to have the camera too, to give you some flexibility if you do happen to have very tall people sitting behind you in the back seat. And moving on to storage spaces here though, in the Hummer, you have nice deep pockets here in the doors with a bottle holder. In the middle, you have a wireless phone charger and a couple USB jacks there, as well as 2 cup holders, and then the center armrest, which is you know, interesting with this material. It's still a little rough. You know, it's great for exfoliating your elbow, I guess, you know, but it's not overly comfortable. It has some padding to it though, so that's nice for sure.
Yeah, I don't think it's terrible. I think it's definitely livable.
Yeah, I think just the rougher material just kind of throws me off because I'm so used to leather or vinyl or something on there.
So used to leather.
And again, 110 grand, like that's what I'm expecting is leather, you know, but I get the rugged thing. Anyway, you open that up and you'll see a very deep cubby there with another power outlet and a little removable tray. And then beneath the shifter, there's also another bonus space here, and you can fit a bunch of stuff in there, but it's a little tricky to get into there. It's not, you know, super easy to, you know, stash stuff in there, but a nice bonus space nonetheless. And one other thing to mention before we move on to the back seat is this also has this Bose stereo, and that is one spot where you actually do have metal on these speaker grills here, and they're nice with this cool little, again, moon kind of theme to them. And the Bose stereo itself sounds pretty good. It's not amazing. Again, at this price point, you know, don't expect anything too crazy. You know, I think if you're looking for a really good stereo at this price point, getting an Escalade or something like that, that's going to be, you know, 10 times better than this. But it's pretty good. I just found that it was lacking a little bit in power. The sub wasn't super strong with the bass, and the vocals could be a little clearer, honestly. If I'm nitpicking, again, I'm not some, you know, audio expert or anything.
Clearly
but,
he is.
Well, it's just, when I'm in so many different vehicles and there's so many things for half the price that have a better sounding stereo than this does, it's just like, I was hoping for a little more. But that's it. And anyway, though, moving on to the back seat here in the Hummer EV, it's basically the same kind of space space is what you'll find in any kind of 1500 series truck. So if you're used to the back seat in a modern Silverado, this is going to be pretty similar. And you have a lot of the same tricks as a Silverado or a, you know, Sierra or something like that, where you have the seat that flips up, you have the little pockets there in the seat back, there's a fold down center armrest there, very similar to, again, anything else you'll see in this segment. It's a good amount of space too, several inches of legroom to spare. When you look forward, you'll see they have their own climate controls as well, along with heated seats, and they also have a little cubby and a couple USB jacks back there as well. And they of course also have the great view here of the removable roof.
And I will say, sitting back there with the baby, they weren't the most comfortable seats. They seem to be pretty hard. However, I don't know if with wear that would get any better or any softer, but they were pretty firm.
Yeah, and I mean, this truck only has less than 2,500 miles, so that's totally possible as far as that goes. But, you know, and getting back to the roof, though, that is one really cool feature is, you know, while other trucks this competes with might have a panoramic roof, like a Ram TRX or a Raptor or something like that, having the truly removable thing here is a really cool touch. And this one does have these blue transparent panels. You can get opaque panels that are removable if you want to have an actual hardtop kind of feeling in here instead of the open air thing. And I saw online some people were commenting that it got kind of hot with these panels because it's tinted, but it's not like insanely dark with the tinting. I had no problems here in the week of driving this thing around on lots of sunny days. I had no complaints. We didn't take the roof panels off, but you can store them right in the front if you want. But as far as the heat thing goes, I didn't have any problems with that, and no complaints whatsoever. But yeah, and then the last couple of things I mentioned here, you have the front trunk, which is power opening, which is really cool, and that is where you store the roof panels. You can also just put whatever you want in there. It's lit, which is really nice for at night. Loading up some groceries like I did the one night. A great little spot to store some groceries, especially considering with trucks, you're either stuck throwing groceries in the truck bed to roll around through the 6 feet of truck bed or whatever, or you have just them flying all over the back seat. So it's really nice to have an actual trunk here. The truck bed itself here is a 5-foot bed, and it also has the multi-pro tailgate there, which drops down to give you a step that's built into it there. And it's got the bed liner standard. You have various tie downs, you have a plug in the back, and lights, and again a camera to look down on that truck bed and stuff, and it works really well. I actually did a little haul to the metal recycler and threw a bunch of stuff in the back there, and works just as great as any other truck. Payload isn't quite as high as some other trucks out there, but for light hauling duties and stuff, it's going to be totally sufficient. But anyway, that's all of our thoughts here on the Hummer EV. I mean, overall, since there really is no competitor to this directly, I can't really compare it to anything or complain about what it has versus others don't have. I just will say that a Raptor and a TRX could feel a little nicer inside for less money, but again, those don't have as much power, those aren't as fast, they're not as crazy as this is.
And it also doesn't have the Hummer name.
Yeah, it's really cool to see it coming back, and that it's just as bold as it is. I mean, this thing definitely stands out more than a TRX or a Raptor does, I think. So it's one of the hottest cars here of the early 2020s, and there's a long wait list. So I'm sure people will be happy just to get one of these. They're not going to be nitpicking about all this stuff. But overall, yeah, it's still really nice. Just again, adjust your expectations. If you're expecting something luxurious for 110, it's not quite that, but it's still super cool in here and very creative, and just very exciting to see it make a comeback. Anyway, that's all of our thoughts. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Huge thanks to GMC for providing us here with this Hummer EV to review for you guys today. And yeah, thank you all very much for watching. We'll see you on the next one.
Take care.